Good morning, one and all. I, Priya, welcome you all to the second day of the literary meet, MILAP 2018. To briefly sum up the events of yesterday, we started off with two prominent theatre artists discussing their respective bodies of work, followed by a panel discussion discussing the journey of Kannada literature in the modern world, and finally we concluded with a beautiful Dastangoi performance. Taking forward the theme of the festival, and to quote Dr. Shiv Prakash from yesterday, he said that birth of modernity is rooted in tradition. When tradition encounters modernity, there are two possibilities. Either there's a conflict or there's a synthesis. And with this, I would like to begin with the very first session of the day, which is titled Symbols of Diversity in Writing, Voicing Dissent. I'm very pleased to say that we have with us one of the most popular writer, Mr. Charu Nivedita. This session will be chaired by Ms. Deepti Sreeram. And to briefly introduce Deepti, Deepti is currently working with the m.i.l.a.p India project at Department of European Studies. She's a research associate there. She has previously worked as a journalist with the m.i.l.a.p and has freelanced for Outlook, the Vogue Journal, and other digital platforms. She has also interviewed a wide number of film personalities, including Dibakar Banerjee, and writers, including Hansda Somendra Shekhar. With this, I would like to invite Mr. Charu Nivedita and Ms. Deepti Sreeram on stage. Over to you, Deepti.
This session is going to be divided into three parts. I would introduce Mr. Charu Nivedita to all of you, and then there would be Charu Nivedita himself giving some opening remarks about MILAP and also of being here, and then we'll have a Q&A, after which we'll also would like to have some questions from the audience. 25 to 30 years of writing career and 25 to 30 books to his credit. Modest beginnings and then an illustrious writing career. Charu Nivedita is a lover of good cinema, a writer who wishes that he wouldn't only be called a writer, and a social commentator. Without further ado, I invite you, sir, to give the opening remarks at MILAP 2018.
Thanks. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Neeta and Anusha and the people who are instrumental in inviting here. It's an honor for me, and I'm new to this kind of gathering because I'm a school dropout and never participated in any kind of seminar outside Tamil Nadu, except Jaipur Literary Festival. It's a kind of m.i.l.a.p, you know. You are one of the big crowd. So please, since I am a school dropout and my English is very poor, so please bear with my language. And I have never been to any college or university, so how can I express my feeling? It's so new that, you know, it's wonderful. That's all I can say. You know, I see a lot of students. Yesterday I was conversing with a philosophy student. He was referring to anti-Oedipus author Deleuze. Yesterday, Dr. Singh was referring to Roland Barthes. I have been a student of Roland Barthes, though I don't know French. I studied him in English. I was so much shocked, pleasantly shocked. It's a pleasant shock for me yesterday. A philosophy student referring to Deleuze. Because in Tamil Nadu, if I go to a university, the Vice Chancellor, once it happened, the Vice Chancellor told me that I have seen you in TV. That's all he could relate me with him. He is from Tamil department, Vice Chancellor, head of the department. He knows me, he knows my face only from the TV, that's all. This is a very Philistine atmosphere there. In universities, they don't know any contemporary writer. No one. They know Thiruvalluvar, Kambar, Ilangovadigal, that's all. No contemporary writing. So it's a very pleasant feeling. Yesterday, a philosophy student referring to Deleuze. In Madras University or some other Tamil Nadu universities, they were stuck up with Sri Ramanuja of, the Vaishnavite philosopher, Adi Shankara, not Michel Foucault or Deleuze and Guattari. So it's a very pleasant feeling, Deepti, to be, with you. So we will face this morning. Huh?
Yeah. We'll do that. Okay. Before we begin to talk about your books, I thought it would be useful to speak about your writing career. For instance, you were first dismissed as explicit amongst your own people, and then you were widely celebrated around the world. You were named one among the top 25 eminent personalities from Tamil Nadu, and still it seems there are people who seem to find your writings too honest, I would say. How do you see all this?
Yeah. It's a very interesting question. I face a lot of death threats from the politicians, but more threats from my fellow writers. Once I criticized Perumal Murugan's novel as mediocre, and the Perumal Murugan follower gave a death threat openly with a lot of thugs in a seminar. I could not come out from my home. I was with police escort for 1 week. So I faced threats not from the state, but from my fellow writers. I think this is because of my nature of the transgressive or whatever. They treat my writing as porn. Not only porn, something, they are averse to this writing. They may be affected, they might be affected because of its unholiness. I criticize everything. Let me give you one example. Recently, housewife has murdered her two children because she wanted to go out of the family. Like you might have read Medea by Euripides, the Greek play. Medea murdered her 2-3 children on a Father's Day, isn't it? Likewise, this girl of 25 years old murdered her 2 children. The boy is 8 years old, the other child 5 years old, but she is only 25. I think she was married at the age of 17. So there is a hue and cry in Tamil Nadu condemning her. But I wrote for her because she eloped with her paramour, settled a new family, but her parents, her in-laws, the society, the police, everyone stopped her, advised her to be with children. I'm not justifying her murder of 2 children. So this kind of intrusion, this kind of my writing troubles them. So they get irritated, they get furious with my writing, they want to attack. This is the basic. I understand like this. Otherwise, why the people, the fellow writers who are speaking for freedom of expression for Perumal Murugan wants to kill me, you see? So, this may be the reason. I may be wrong, but I could understand really like this.
In your early writings, you used the pseudonym Muniandi.
Yeah.
Why Muniandi?
I was in Delhi from 1978 to 1990, 12 years. I was happy at the time because I could write. They didn't bother because of the language. I wrote in Tamil. So once I came to Madras, people started watching me, my writing. Even I received memo from my superiors in office for my bad writing. Not for my misbehavior in office, but for my bad writing. I received a lot of official memos from my superiors. I was working in postal department. In Delhi, I was in rationing department. So I had to write in a pseudonym. And my fellow writers, they are like my in-laws. Lot of threats. And one more thing I want to tell you. I had to publish all my works, novels, short stories, collections. There were magazines which published my writings, but as a book, I had to publish Zero Degree, Existentialism and Fancy Banyan, and all my novels, short story collections, articles, everything for 30 years. From 25 to 50, I had to publish my own writing. At the age of 50, I could find a publisher. Since then, he has been publishing my works. So I had to choose this Muniandi. Muniandi is like, you know, in Tamil Nadu, Muniandi is a lumpen name. Yeah. Muniandi Vilas Biryani. It's famous in, you know, a lumpen-like thing.
Speaking of Zero Degree, I read a previous interview where you said that you were roaming around the roads of Tamil Nadu with a manuscript of Zero Degree. And Zero Degree, in many ways, when it was celebrated around the world, it was, you yourself have said on several occasions that you do not know how to subscribe to these tags of postmodern and transgressive. But when it comes to Zero Degree, this is what it's been celebrated as a postmodern work, as a transgressive piece of fiction. And even the form of writing that you've used throughout Zero Degree was possibly new to the audience in Tamil Nadu. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Could you say something more
about... When I was writing Zero Degree, I didn't know the terms, postmodern or transgressive, these things. We were discussing about tradition yesterday. Mr. Singh also said about the one kind of fish he was referring to. With a lot of respect, I differ from his view. I don't belong to Tamil Nadu. The belongingness. I don't belong to anywhere. There is a poet called Sangam poet, Kaniyan Pungundran. He said, Yadum Vure Yavarum Kelir. Yadum Vure means every town is my town. Everyone is my relative. So, Arabic is my mother tongue, Spanish is my mother tongue, French, and all the languages. And I am more inclined towards French. My oeuvre is Frenchness, I can say. My brought up is French philosophy and French cinema. So without knowing this term postmodern or transgressive or anything, I could write those passages, those narrative. I was totally against grand narratives, the holiness of writing. There is a French writer called Alain Robbe-Grillet, and his short story Beach, I would recommend you to read that very short story of 1600 words, 3 pages long. Beach. 3 kids were walking along the side of the beach. They are walking. They face seabirds. The seabirds fly and come back. They are walking. This 1600 words. He doesn't tell you a story like Dostoevsky or Tolstoy. Our Tamil writers, their over or their school of thought is Russian writers. I don't belong to that Russian kind of storytelling, or I treat Dostoevsky or Tolstoy as moral teachers. I don't consider them as great writers. I consider Alain Robbe-Grillet or Georges Bataille or Jean Genet. They won't tell you the tear-jerking stories like Victor Hugo, Jean Genet. He talks about homosexuality and so many other things. So I belong to that school. So naturally I could write 0 degree, and it was a very unholy thing among Tamil writers. They started, one fellow writer, I was roaming all along the streets of Madras with the huge bag of 0 degree, to 2,000 pages in handwriting. So a fellow writer told me, why you bother? You go to a pawn shop, printer, he can print your novel. I punched at his face. So a lot of things happened among my fellow writers. Later, the Malayalam, though I am an outcast in Tamil Nadu, Tamil milieu, Malayalam, the Kerala people celebrated me, they welcomed me, they treat me as their own son.
I was about to ask this question about languages to you, because in an interview you had mentioned about how you think in French. Of course, there is sometimes several languages that you think you find a lot of belonging to. So we are talking about home and belongingness here. At the same time, let's talk about translations. So you, as you said earlier, you're very comfortable with Tamil. That's how you write. And you said that you would find some difficulty speaking in English right now. But at the same time, your works have been translated in Malayalam, well received in the Kerala milieu. So how do you perceive this? Like, how do you see the world of translations and, of course, writing in your own mother tongue?
Thinking in Tamil. Yeah, Tamil has a very beautiful tradition of Andal and Sangam literature. I consider Andal as my guru, and Georges Bataille and Roland Barthes. About translation, it's a pathetic thing in Tamil Nadu. They have got, that is, we have got only 2 Jnanpith awards till now. Though the contemporary Tamil literature is so high in standard and many things. This is because of the intelligentsia's unawareness. That is, they don't know what's happening in Tamil literature. The intelligentsia doesn't know. So we don't have any translators, English translators. So who is going to speak for us? 2 Jnanpith awards, one for pulp writer, not to the two Jnanpith Tamil. We have got two Jnanpith awards, one for the pulp writer and one for the mediocre, the middle way writer. Not a single literary person has got Jnanpith till now. Kannada has got 9. Malayalam has got 7. Kannada is on par with Hindi. We don't have translators. I have been trying for the last 10-15 years for this, 10 years for this translation of Marginal Man. There are people who write beautiful English, but they don't know Tamil, they don't know literature. The problem is they don't know literature. And universities are, very pathetic, I told you. Huh? The Vice Chancellor is watching TV. Yeah? So, where would you find? I used to tell my friends that don't introduce me as a writer to anyone, because immediately they would ask me for which film you are writing. Film them. Cinema is Tamil's religion. Cinema is their politics. All the 5 chief ministers are from cinema. So they don't know anything apart from cinema. So we don't have translators. It's a pity thing. I studied Spanish and French. My aim was to write in French. This is a very pathetic, I think in Tamil, but I wanted to write in French. Then, nothing came to my brain and I stopped everything. So
speaking of cinema, I thought we could talk about your book, Third Cinema. In the preface where you speak about why you find that in addition to European cinema, which you have explored earlier, you thought it was essential that we speak about Latin American cinema. So, can we speak a bit about that?
Yes. Like everyone else, I'm also fascinated or infatuated towards cinema. But intellectuals, as far as I know, they talk high of European cinema. People like Bergman, Russian director Tarkovsky, many people. German cinema, for example. That is, I consider it as second cinema, but the Latin American cinema in 1979, there was a film festival in Delhi, Focus on Latin America. It opened my eyes towards South American cinema. I was introduced to Glauber Rocha and Bolivian cinema, the Jorge Sanguines. They are making a tremendous cinema, tremendous cinema. It's a new kind of cinema. It's so personal. If you watch Battle of Chile, a 6.5-hour documentary film, it tells you the contemporary history, political history, about society, about people, for 6.5 hours. And if you watch Jorge Sanguines of Bolivia, The Blood of the Condor, for example, the films are available in YouTube. But Glauber Rocha is such a master, he is unknown in world cinema. So we have to talk about the third cinema, the people's cinema. It's very new. It's very new. There are no actors. The people themselves are in the film. See, even now I could remember a scene from Battle of Chile. I watched it in 1980. Dr. Allende's palace was bombed by the the dictator, the General Pinochet, 1973, it's I think. We are watching a scene that a military general was speaking to for us, he is speaking to us. Don't shoot, he says. So it means that a cameraman was shooting him. The narrator says, our cameraman was shot dead. Such kind of films they are producing, they are creating. Glauber Rocha, many people, Brazilian cinema. It's very unfortunate that world cinema lovers are not discussing about third cinema.
In addition to writing about, say, something like Latin American cinema in your book, you also do reviews.
Yeah.
You have
reviewed. Oh my God.
You've reviewed quite a number of
yes.
films, and there is a particular incident where Anna Vettikad, a famous movie critic, had spoke about a scene in a very popular movie, and she had faced a lot of criticism on the basis of that. So, because we're also talking about Dissent in this particular session, I thought I wanted to talk about this because it's regarding your work in cinema.
Yeah, you cannot escape from cinema in Tamil Nadu. So, I was forced to write film reviews, the popular film reviews. Sometimes I was forced to, because director Bala has been making films, and Maniratnam too, and our Kamal, our Michel Foucault is Kamal, I used to tell. He himself considers him as a philosopher or a savior now. So our Michel Foucault is Kamal, our Amartya Sen is Maniratnam, and our Che Guevara is right now Rajinikanth. So I was forced to write film reviews, but whenever I write film reviews, I receive a lot of threats from Ajit fans, Kamal fans. So 1 week I will go absconding. Real death threats, real threats. I was attacked many times, 2-3 times. In 1990 or so, when I was directing and acting a play in a stage like this, with intellectuals as usual, not common public. They were all theatre personalities, intellectuals. During the play, they attacked us physically. They attacked us. All the property is broken. The play was stopped in between. So I had quit from theatre from that moment. So I did that because it's so dangerous. So because, theatre is so powerful art. It speaks to you, direct. So I thought, no, this is not feasible in Tamil Nadu. So film reviews. Now I stopped writing Tamil film reviews because it's so dangerous. People are fanatic. People are fanatic. The Ajit fans, Kamal fans, Vijay fans, they are fanatic. Once I have a lot of press people, friends. One editor called me immediately to his office 10 years back. He showed me a parcel that is a glass with this finger, cut-off finger with that. A Vijay's fan had sent that finger to him, to this office, the newspaper office, with a request that please send it to actor Vijay, so that he will be pleased. See, this kind of, Jovile said, thank God he did not send his dick. So, how can you have a dialogue with people like, this is kind of fanatic, cinema fanatics, So I have stopped writing film reviews. Now I write about film reviews on Hindi and English films.
When you switch from, say, fiction to non-fiction, you're experimenting with forms of writing there. So it's in terms of structure to it differs. So can you talk about your experience related to that? You're moving away from different.
In Tamil Nadu, you have to write about sociology, about politics, about cinema, about everything, because academicians are nowhere. They don't do anything. So we have to do all these things. So I had to write non-fiction, though I don't like to write non-fiction. It's not my area. My area is my point is my life is fiction writing. But you have to write non-fiction, so I write. Now I feel that I should stop writing non-fiction. A lot of non-fictions. I've written about 90 books. World cinema, world music, politics, and so on. I should stop writing non-fiction, and I should concentrate on fiction. This Marginal Man is about dogs, about cats, about trees. I get bored with human beings of late. Maybe because I live in India, a lot of violence among humans. That too in Tamil Nadu, without art and culture. They know only how to make money. Software, they are producing software clerks. A lot of people going to US, they don't know anything except making money. Police people used to tell me, I have many police friends, they tell me that when they go to an accident spot, the mobile phone is missing. So they don't know how to reach the fellow who is in an accident. See, can you imagine this? Am I clear? The mobile phone is missing. Huh? So how can anyone take this mobile phone from an accident spot, wherever in Tamil Nadu? The mobile phone is missing. So people are cheating, thieves, many few. 1 in 1,000, I find a good soul. So why should I write about human beings? The Marginal Man is full of cats and dogs, trees, and there is one incident, the Indira Gandhi murder. I was there, I was living in Tirlokpuri. That's called Tirlokpuri massacre. Some 3,006 were murdered by organized way, in an organized way. I was witness to that. So, except that, you can't find the human incidents except that some romance that is about the protagonist's extramarital love. So, I find solace among animals, even wild animals.
This question is, I thought it's a tricky question, but it's still pertinent to our discussion here. Somnath Wagmore, a Dalit filmmaker, he mentioned specifically that I do not want journalists to call me up and ask a quote from a Dalit filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker.
Okay.
But at the same time, this is a question of where there is an intersection of identities here. He's a filmmaker, of course, and he doesn't want to be essentialized. But at the same time, we also talk about privilege here and marginalization here. How do you see this?
Honestly speaking, I have no opinion about this because in my case, I don't consider myself as a Dalit writer or a transgressive writer or marginal writer or anything. Or even when people say that this is a Tamil writer, I don't consider myself as a Tamil writer. What do you identifying with? If I were a woman, if you call me a feminist, I won't. The branding I don't like, because Shakespeare is Shakespeare, isn't it? So you cannot say Dalit. You cannot say Dalit writer, a feminist writer. A writer is a writer, in my opinion. I think he is right. But people take advantage of their identity, their positioning. That is also there.
Do you think at some point, because of your, say, you said you were born and brought up in a slum, and later on you became a government servant, and then you started your writing career. So do you think backgrounds matter when it comes to being, wherever you are? Because did you face any repercussions along these lines?
Very much, very much. I'm not able to come out from that 20 years of life. Even my Tamil, though I write a poetic Tamil in my fiction, even in my non-fiction, everybody, even my critics, even my rivals praise me for my poetic Tamil. That comes from Andal and Sangam. My blood is full of Andal. So, but my spoken Tamil is full of cuss words. Full of cuss words because of that slum. So, whenever I am in a crowd, I won't speak. I won't open my mouth because my Tamil is full of cuss words. It's not only about expression. It's about the content too. My place is still full of Christians, Muslims and Hindus. Muslims predominant. So the thing called incest, in Muslim community, they marry paternal cousins and Hindus maternal cousins. Each one, they would accuse them incest, they are marrying incest, they are having incest relationship. This kind of thing. So, and if you cross the river, you enter into French territory, in my place, French territory. So there, wine, flows like river, wine and brandy, everything. And if you cross the bridge, come to our place, the police will come to you and woo they will see your, smell, whether you are drunken or not. You are fine in my place. So this kind of thing. So this opened my eyes. Nothing is incest, nothing is holy, nothing is sacred from the early ages. From my early age. So, kind of freedom I could feel in from my early writing till now. So, I think this is a boon for me, a fortunate thing, and bad thing also, because my fellow writers accuse me of so many things. Is porn, antisocial, anti-national, everything.
Thank you,
my
sir.
Background.
I think we have about 15 minutes for a Q&A with the audience, and also if any resource persons would like to express their views on what Charu Nivedita shared with everyone, you can take this opportunity now.
Good morning, sir. I am from Maharashtra. Perumal Murugan is known as a struggler for his struggle for freedom of expression. When his fans gave you the threat, what was his reaction, or what stand he took?
He didn't say anything. He kept mum. This is because of the innate hatred towards my writing. I could understand that.
Hello, sir. So I'm a student here and here to report the event, and I have a small question for you. You've said that you're more French than a Tamilian. So do you think it is because both, I mean, it's my personal observation that both Tamilians and the French are a bit similar in terms of their culture. I mean, they take pride in who they are. So maybe that's where you related with the French.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. It's a very good question. How I relate to Michel Foucault. Once my fellow writer wrote about me that I have been bringing Foucault's corpse along the streets of Tamil Nadu. Huh? Why? I will tell you why. He only taught me to go, not to go with the, to understand the difference. Yesterday, Mr. Singh told us about the silence of answers and violence of question. Michel Foucault was talking about difference. In France, there is one religion, only one religion, one race, and one language. But we have multiple languages, races, states, lot of identities in India. Here we have to concentrate on difference. Isn't it? My fellow, my friend used to tell me that in a call, she's a professor. She tells me often that if you take non-veg, the other teachers, you know, they go, you know, they get like kind of ill feeling, facial feeling, you know. What sort of the tolerance? They don't tolerate your religion, they don't tolerate your food, your appearance, your language. So Foucault teaches us about difference. You have to go into your opposite person's mind, or you have to go along with you the opposite identity. I don't know how to express in, you Google it and see Michel Foucault's theory of difference. It's just tolerance, or more than that. You understand the difference. You understand the difference. Adi Shankara did it when he was posed with the question about sexuality, isn't it? He transformed into a body of a king and slept with a woman, and he experienced what is sex, and he answered the question. Our tradition is there, but we forgot now. So only in this line I oppose fascism. If you say one nation, one language, a lot of Hindus tell me that Muslims, you are also Hindu. You are also, no, I am different. But we are equal. This kind of democratic thing I learned from Frenchness, French thought.
Charu, you have said many interesting things, and I'm really very much attracted towards whatever you have said, and
thank you, sir.
Opened a new area, that is Tamil Nadu, for me to study. My question should be, maybe because of your personal past and your experiences with variety of people, there seems to be a lot of hopelessness in you. You are time and again referring to French scholars, French writers, Jean Genet, all those theatre of absurd school kind of people, also indicates that you are not at all happy with the present. And in a way, you want to run away from here. Maybe physically, maybe in your ideas. You find yourself in Kerala or in France or that side of the river. I can appreciate all this. I can also appreciate your being with cats, dogs, in Marginal Man. My small question to you is, when you at the same time talk of Michel Foucault, don't you think that in such a agonizing kind of situation, you as a writer has also a role to play?
Last sentence I could not get.
What you are trying to do to improve the situation as a writer.
Okay, yes. Beautiful. Apart from all this, I am a hedonist. I celebrate life. I am a spiritualist too. Yesterday evening, I was sitting in the Suvarna river bank, looking at the sunset. It gives me a lot of hope. Yes, I am hopeless. I see hopelessness everywhere, but still, I am a believer, staunch believer. So, every day, the nature, the sun, the beauty of rain, the beauty everywhere. I see beauty everywhere. It gives us a lot of hope. Yes. I am full of hope. The grief of, the angst of hopelessness inside my abdomen, hope is there always. You know, every day the sun comes, ray of sun comes, the rain is there, the air, the beautiful air, the nature. So, if I look at the sky, I get a lot of messages from God. I feel so happy. Yeah.
Hi Charu, thanks for your talk, and I've read some of your works, and I really like the way you write and the style of your writing. Apart from Andal and Sangam literature, I also know you've been influenced by a lot of modern Tamil writers. You have also made a compilation of them, and I also know that you've been influenced by a Tamil writer called Ashokamitran. They've always placed him on a very high regard. I want to ask you, to what extent have you been influenced by Tamil writing? If you can throw light on how much you have been influenced by the modern Tamil writers, and how you see yourself as a Tamil writer in Tamil literary scene. If you can throw light on that, that will be helpful. Thanks.
Yes. In 19th century Russia, you find a lot of writers, stalwart, giants. Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, Gogol, Chekhov, a lot. We had 10 years back, like that, the situation was like that, was like 19th century. We had a lot of geniuses among us. Ashokamitran, Vasingaram, M.V. Venkatram, S. Sampath, Tanjai Prakash, T. Janakiraman, Na Pichamurthy. No one is there now, all dead. But 50 years, 40 years back, 30 years back, we had all these geniuses. But you won't find them in English. That's so unfortunate. Kanasu, if you search, if you go, you looking for these people, you can find, but it's difficult. Ashokamitran's writings are there in English. Very beautiful writers. They all influenced my way of writing, but they don't like me. I know them. They don't like me. Even Ashokamitran, there is an interesting episode. I consider him as my father. I often go to his house. He told my friend that Charu comes often, but I am afraid that he kept a bomb or something in my house. He is so scared of me. Because somehow they don't... I inherited their narrative, their perception, their language, but because of the transgressiveness, they don't like my writing.
We have time for one final question.
Just a question out of curiosity, personal curiosity I'm asking. You mentioned Alan Rope-Grill, whom I like because I have read a few stories by him, and also his very good novel, The Over, which I like. And the moment Alan Rope-Grill started in French, like new novel, what they called a new novel, it is no longer a fashion now in French. Actually, nobody writes like the group of people like Michael Boutte and others, they're not like that. I'm out of curiosity, I'm asking, in what way, being a Tamil writer, are you influenced by him? Because, the story mentioned the beach, I have read that. Actually, nothing happens in the story. Nothing, even in his novel, nothing happens in his novels also. You know that? Having read that, I'm asking in what way you are influenced? Out of curiosity, I'm asking.
In all Tamil writing, contemporary writing, they tell you morals. They tell you how to live. They tell you what is right, what is wrong. So, if you start thinking about in a postmodern way, you imagine a triangle, the preacher, the writer is on the top. Roland Barthes says that writer is dead. Writer is dead, the author is dead. So, you don't become a preacher, you don't become a father. The father is there, the dictator is there, the prime minister, the headmaster, everyone is on the top. So, they teach you and we receive as a reader. There is no dialectical or there is no dialogue or involvement for a reader. In my in my way of writing, it is like spiral. There is no beginning. You can go on, no end. There is no center. There is no king. There is no writer. Teaches you morals, values. In all Tamil writings, they teach you. Even in Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, they tell you stories, good stories. In all my writings, there is not a single word, he is a bad man, he did a bad thing. No, never. I don't give any adjective. It happens. Even in the case, the murder case, she killed her 2 children, like Medea. So, in this way, I learned a lot from people like Alain Robbe-Grillet. Michel Foucault says, Alain Robbe-Grillet is the only one he respects in French thought. Patrick Modiano, who has got Nobel Award recently, he writes like Robbe-Grillet. Though Patrick Modiano's style of writing is very boring. But my point is this, don't preach and involve the reader, give him or give her space. She has to create her space in a text. You should create such texts. That's my point.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm a first-year BAMC student. I just want to ask you that the story in which you've narrated, in which your writings were unaccepted by the people of your the state of Tamil Nadu, and how you are welcome in other states such as Kerala and the like. I just want to ask you, you've mentioned a lot about French culture, how you really like French culture, you think in one language and you want to write in French. So if you were to write in French and the French opposed to your writing, where would you go next? Where would you abscond to next? That's just my question. Because you've also said that after writing Tamil reviews, you wanted to abscond. So if you were to write French reviews or write in French, if the French backlashed you, where would you go?
What's the point?
So if the French would also oppose your writing, suppose you start writing.
Okay.
Where would you go next?
Yeah. So it's a beautiful imagination. They have tolerated Marquis de Sade. The Napoleon told Marquis de Sade that you write, whatever you write, but don't enact. That's all Napoleon said. Okay. So in one place in this globe that you can write anything. You Google it, a writer called Colette, C-O-L-E-T-T-E, Colette. She wrote 4 novels in the initial stage, 1900, 1901, 1902, 1903. 4 novels at a stage. You read that, Colette, they have, the state has celebrated Colette during those days. She was a lesbian. She was considered as a Sappho of 20th century, 19th century. State celebrated, the French state. So there is one thing. So even if French, doesn't like me, I will go to German. Yeah?
Thank you so much, sir, for this discussion.
Thank you so much, Deepti. Thank you so much.
I saw a couple of hands going up. You can also continue this discussion with Mr. Charu Nivedita. He will be here through the day for tea breaks and lunch breaks. Thank you so much for your patience. I thank all the resource persons for being here and participating in this.
And all my discussions, used to end with a lot of chaos and confusion and fist fight. And thank God it went well, very well. And I respect you. I love you all. I love Anita. I love Deepti. I love this place. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Charu Nivedita and Deepti, for this very enriching conversation.